There is a material sitting inside every forest on Earth right now. It costs absolutely nothing to harvest, nothing to process, nothing to install. It carries an R value that matches commercial fiberglass bats sold at $80 per roll at every single hardware store today. It kept Viking longhouses warm through brutal Scandinavian winters for 400 consecutive years. It insulated every traditional Japanese farmhouse across an entire civilization without one bill ever arriving. It was the single most widely used building insulation material across all of North America, from colonial settlement straight through 1948. Then in 1952, one quiet industry decision changed everything you were ever allowed to know about keeping your home warm. And that single decision has been costing you thousands of dollars every single winter since the day you moved in. Welcome to Survive. This is where we pry open every vault the construction industry has spent decades welding permanently shut. If this knowledge matters to you, hit subscribe right now and ring that bell hard. Because what is coming next is the exact part they spent 70 years and billions of dollars making absolutely sure you would never once hear. In 1847, a Norwegian researcher named Erik Halvorsen was traveling and carefully documenting traditional building methods across rural Scandinavia. He recorded something that completely stopped him cold. Farmhouses constructed in the early 1400s were maintaining interior temperatures of a comfortable 68 degrees when outside winter air dropped to a brutal -20. No furnace running, no ductwork installed anywhere, no gas bill arriving every single month without fail. Just walls packed tightly with one single natural material that every forest on Earth still produces completely and entirely for free. Moss. Specifically, sphagnum moss. A plant so structurally perfect for thermal retention that modern building science still cannot fully explain every single reason why it works as well as it does. Sphagnum grows in dense interlocking layers that trap air at a microscopic level no manufactured product has ever fully replicated. It naturally repels moisture without any chemical treatment whatsoever. It resists mold, rot, and bacterial growth completely on its own. And it compresses tightly into wall cavities with zero specialized tools, zero training, and zero professional installation costs ever. The Vikings did not stumble onto this accidentally. They tested it deliberately. They refined the technique across generations. They passed the knowledge forward like something sacred because it was. A family that knew how to properly pack a wall with sphagnum moss never froze. A family that sometimes did not survive the winter at all. Now stay with me here, because the science behind what this plant actually does is even more devastating than the history. But first, everything you have seen so far is barely the first page of what was buried and locked away. I spent months collecting every suppressed technique, every hidden study, every natural building method the construction industry quietly erased from public knowledge. All of it lives inside the Complete to Survive vault. Natural insulation methods that cost you nothing to source. Emergency shelter builds that outperform $3,000 commercial tents in real field conditions. Passive heating techniques that work without one single watt of electricity. Ancient moisture management methods that modern contractors genuinely do not want you to ever learn. Over 12 complete field-tested guides. One single place. Zero filler. The link is sitting right inside the description below this video. But do not go anywhere yet, because this next part is the piece they worked the hardest to erase completely. In 1948, the United States government commissioned a full thermal performance study comparing every available insulation material then on the market. The results were never publicly released in full. What fragments did surface showed sphagnum moss performing within 94% of the thermal efficiency of fiberglass bats. At zero material cost, zero manufacturing energy, zero transportation emissions, zero installation labor if you did it yourself. Fiberglass insulation required a factory, required chemical binders, required specialized cutting tools and protective equipment, and professional installers billing $80 an hour. Fiberglass insulation could be sold to you at full markup every single time you built or renovated anything. Moss could not. You cannot patent a plant that grows wild across 400 million acres of North American forest. You cannot trademark water and air and ancient biology. You cannot build a $90 billion recurring revenue industry around something any person can walk into the woods and harvest themselves in a single afternoon. So in 1952, the newly formed National Insulation Association published its first standardized building code recommendations. Fiberglass bats were listed as the approved residential insulation standard. Natural organic materials including moss, hemp, wool, and cork were quietly and deliberately excluded. Not because they failed any thermal test, not because they posed any safety risk, but because they could not generate the revenue model the industry had already decided it needed. Building codes written in 1952 by people paid by insulation manufacturers are still governing what goes inside your walls today. Read that sentence one more time and let it fully land. Homeowner associations in 34 states now contain clauses requiring commercially certified insulation materials in all permitted renovation work. The International Residential Code used by contractors across the entire country references approved material lists that have not meaningfully updated their natural material classifications since 1958. A material your great-great-grandfather used to survive winters that would shut down entire modern cities today is now classified as non-compliant in most permitted residential builds. Non-compliant, a word invented by people who profit from compliance. Now I need to be completely straight with you right here. Sphagnum moss is not a perfect replacement for every single application in every single climate. In extremely high humidity coastal environments, moisture management requires additional attention and careful technique. It requires proper compression density to hit peak thermal performance. And harvesting at scale requires knowledge of sustainable collection so forest ecosystems stay intact and producing. But here is the truth your grandfather already knew without anyone teaching him. He reapplied it when needed. He learned the technique from his own father. He spent one weekend every few years maintaining walls that kept his entire family warm through winters that cost you $400 a month in heating bills today. Here is exactly what to do with everything you just learned. Search for sphagnum moss harvesting guidelines specific to your region. Sustainable collection exists and is fully legal on most public land with a simple free permit. Harvest during dry late summer conditions when moisture content is naturally lowest. Allow full air drying for a minimum of 3 weeks before any wall installation. Pack wall cavities at a compression density of approximately 3.5 pounds per cubic foot for optimal thermal performance. Pair with a simple, breathable natural vapor barrier on the interior face. Total material cost for an average single-room wall insulation project: $0. 1 weekend of work. No contractor. No permit in most unpermitted renovation scenarios. No $4,000 invoice arriving on Monday morning. A home builder in rural Vermont did exactly this across his entire 1,800 square foot farmhouse renovation last winter. His heating cost dropped by 61% in the first full season. His walls tested within 88% of the thermal efficiency of commercially installed fiberglass at independent assessment. His total insulation material budget for the entire house: $14 in harvesting equipment he already owned. The Vikings knew this. The Japanese knew this. The colonists who built the farmhouses your grandparents grew up inside knew this. Professor after professor has quietly confirmed the thermal data in studies that never once made the evening news. $90 billion in annual global insulation revenue needed you sitting in the cold and reaching for your wallet. So they rewrote the building codes. They redefined what compliant meant. They made your great-grandfather's knowledge sound primitive and dangerous and beneath the modern world they were selling you. But the moss is still growing out there right now, in every forest within driving distance of wherever you are sitting watching this video. It grew through every winter before the industry existed. It will grow through every winter long after the industry is gone. And today, right here on To Survive, you just remembered something they spent 70 years and billions of marketing dollars trying to make every single one of us permanently forget. Subscribe. Share this with one person who heats a home and pays that bill every month. Every share keeps this vault open just a little bit wider. The next vault drops soon, and what is sealed inside it is even heavier than this. To survive, remember everything.